Welcome to rSlash Entitledparents, where a stuck-up mother tries to steal a dog. Backstory: about 5 years ago, my family rescued a golden retriever named Maya. She was my responsibility, so my family refers to her as my dog. And she came into my life when I was dealing with a death in the family. Needless to say, she helped me a lot and is very special to me. I moved to university and I came back during the summer. The neighbors next door are a family of 3, mom and dad, who are always at work, and a 6-year-old daughter. This summer, the mom asked me if I could babysit her daughter while she was at work, and she paid me in exchange. The daughter, calling her Kay, grew very attached to Maya, who loves most kids, and they played together almost constantly whenever she came over. After summer ended, mom came to pick up Kay one last time, and Kay burst into tears and started hugging Maya, saying she didn't want to leave her. I calmly explained that Maya was my dog, and I was like her mommy, so she would be sad if she had to leave her mom. Kay calmed down and understood the conversation, but mom was not having it, and she started to cause a scene.
Really? Can't you see she loves that dog? She promises to take care of it.
Kay sees how upset her mom is, so she goes back to crying and grabbing Maya. I'm sure she does, but she's still my dog.
That's not really fair. You're not even here most of the time. Doesn't the dog deserve an owner who will spend all their time with her?
Doesn't change the fact that she's my dog. My family is still here to take care of her, and they love her very much. I'm not going to give you my dog.
Well, it's not really giving her away, is it? How much have I paid you? That definitely covers the cost of buying the dog.
At this point, I really wanted to scream in her face. She paid me to watch her kid, not to buy my ducking dog. I didn't want to blow up in front of Kay because she's a sweet girl who probably only continued to cry because her mom escalated the situation and confused her. So I separated Maya from Kay and told her, the dog, to go outside. I told mom to leave me and my dog alone and to find a new babysitter next summer. And later on, she texted my mom saying I was a foul-mouthed girl. I never cussed in front of her 6-year-old child, who
ruined the life of a 6-year-old girl.
Ha! I think the most logical rebuttal would have been, entitled parent, my dog has become so attached to your daughter, and you're never around to care for your daughter, so why don't you just give me your daughter? I'll take much better care of her than you will. Our next Reddit post is from my Jerathai. Background: I'm severely hard of hearing, but consider myself deaf. When your hearing is that bad, you might as well be. I also operate a very small local deaf meetup group in my local area, which includes a hearing person, one of my roommates, who just seems to enjoy hanging out with us, and we're fine with that. When with the group, I don't wear my hearing aids, as that roommate is usually fine with handling things if and when hearing is needed. He's a trooper. At this particular meetup, which happened this morning at Shoney's for their breakfast, we came across an entitled parent. The story: everyone was seated, casually nomming their favorite breakfast items from the breakfast bar at Shoney's. Everyone signing and giggling back and forth with one another and enjoying our time together. But we did notice a kid that was nearby bugging my roommate about something. I wouldn't know what's being said until after we arrived home after the meetup, and will include the conversational bits where relevant. The kid said,
"Why aren't any of you talking?"
My roommate said, I can talk. They're deaf and can't hear speech, so we use sign language to talk.
That's cool.
The kid runs off, and roommate didn't think anything more of it. It's not uncommon for someone to ask about sign language here or there, or ask us how to say something or get advice on where they can learn the language. Sounds like nothing spectacular so far, I know, but it wasn't until we were ending our little meetup and start saying our goodbyes when the kid's mother approaches our table. Again, the deafies are just thinking yet another person with a sign language question, and here he can handle it. Apparently, the kid's mom was so offended that we weren't speaking vocally that she intended to make her stupid opinion known.
You need to stop doing that hand signal stuff and speak English. It's very rude.
My roommate said, I'm sorry, what? These guys are deaf, so...
I don't care if they're deaf. They can speak English like everyone else in America.
No, they can't. Literally, 2 of these people were born completely deaf. They don't know what English even remotely sounds like.
It's not my fault they're R-word. They should still speak English. And you too, stop messing about with your hands. It's very rude.
It's very rude to insist people with a disability cater to your sensibilities, and honestly, I wish I were deaf myself so I wouldn't hear the screeching of a heartless jerk with less than 2 brain cells to rub together.
You can't speak like that around children.
She ends up huffing and running off. At this point though, she's gotten the attention of everyone at our meetup. We all were thinking that this was the end of it, and the roommate signed to us telling us, "Crazy lady thinks we're throwing gang signs and other stupid stuff. Everything's fine." Well, turns out Entitled Mother ended up getting the manager demanding we be kicked out. So enter manager stage left. The manager arrives at the table with Entitled Mother and the poor kid in tow. Entitled Mother looking smug like she just accomplished something huge. The manager said, "I've got a complaint that your entire party has been rude and cussing." The manager notices sign language being used and asks the Entitled Mother, "Ma'am, do you know what they're saying?"
No, not at all. They're not speaking English, which is very rude. We're in America, and in America we speak English.
My roommate swears this is what she said. And since we do live in the sticks, I wouldn't put it past someone to say something like this. "Ma'am, we can't kick people out for not speaking English."
But they're insulting me and my kid. Just look at them.
At this point, it's worth noting that when we're discussing something or someone, if the object of discussion is available, they're pointed at. At no point in our discussion did we point at the Entitled Mother nor her kid. What we were talking about was various subjects, from cats to the girl we recently invited from Walmart talking about wanting to get a fish tank and a small fighter beta and other places they'd like to go for the next meetup. So nothing involving the entitled parent nor her kid. My roommate actually points to one of us. She's talking about getting a fish tank and getting a beta fish. He points to me. He's getting information on where the next meetup might take place. He points to the black guy. He's talking about a kitten he recently adopted. He points to the Entitled Mother. And she's being rude, insisting deaf people need to stop using sign language to accommodate her stupid sensibilities. The manager surprisingly signs to the group asking if we found everything to our liking. We all practically say yes to the same degree. Yes, okay, etc. Different signs. The manager proceeds to inform the Entitled Mother that she'll need to leave us alone or he will have to ask her to leave. She apparently continued to complain about how we continued to sign after all this, and was asked to leave. She did, and apparently screamed how she's never coming back. The manager gave us 10% off our bills, except the roommate who dealt with the brunt of it, who got his meal free. Here's the funny thing. Sign language is ASL, which stands for American Sign Language. I just looked it up and it was invented in Hartford, Connecticut, unlike English, which was invented in England. Sign language is literally more American than English. And on top of that, I'm pretty sure it's very illegal to kick someone out of a business for using sign language. So this Entitled Mother was mega wrong. Our next Reddit post is from Mother of Pancakes. As a child, I was enrolled in a Washington, D.C. private school. So kids of politicians, diplomats, lawyers, doctors, etc. The school charged an insane amount for tuition, expected parents to pay thousands extra in fees and donations, and took the kids on their choice of 4 two-week trips: art in Europe, skiing in New Hampshire, scuba diving and biology in Australia. Every year, that costs tens of thousands. One girl's mom bought a darkroom and camera equipment for the school so her daughter could learn photography. These parents and their kids were beyond entitled. My parents could afford my tuition, but that was a stretch for them, so we weren't viewed as being especially valuable to the school. My school was taking each grade on a 3-day trip that they got us psyched up for all year. The teacher asked each child to list their top 5 choices for roommates. The week before the trip, my mom got a call from the principal. I was nosy, so I picked up 2 and listened in on the conversation. Basically, she said,
"Well, none of the kids want your daughter in their cabin. They don't like her. We suggested that it would be a nice thing to do, but the parents didn't think their children should be forced to be with someone they disliked. We don't have enough cabins to put her in one by herself, so you should just keep her home.
I was devastated. 9 years old, completely heartbroken, in tears. They
didn't want their children to be uncomfortable.
But it's okay for any 9-year-old girl to know that no one likes her and her school doesn't care how she feels. I refused to go back to school. I was so ashamed. I felt shattered and stupid and worthless. That was the beginning of a slide down into depression. I'd been told by those kids for years that I was worthless, stupid, ugly, and one year I did a report on being adopted, and let me tell you, the kids had a field day with that. But the realization that not one single person was in my corner, not even the teachers, it just broke me. I believed them all. I was worthless. At age 12, my parents put me in a residential hospital school for kids with severe depression. I'm now 35 and I have a good life, wonderful friends, great kids, and I foster all kinds of abandoned and unwanted animals. Life is good, I'm loved and I'm happy, but I still get choked up thinking back on that phone call. F those bratty kids and their entitled parents. And then OP posts a crazy update in the comments. Someone was complaining about the principal and OP responds, "She was an awful woman. I recently saw my old school mentioned on the news. Turns out there was all kinds of inappropriate touching misconduct on the part of the teachers over the past 30 years or so. All reported to the top B herself at the time, and she swept it under the rug. Now these women and their families are furious and working with a lawyer. I'm glad she's finally being held responsible for being an awful human being in so many ways." Our next Reddit post is from Rishbob. A bit of backstory. I'm fairly young, 13, and have been saving up for years to get a gaming PC, and my parents insisted I build it, and so I did. I'm not particularly talkative and don't really look for trouble all too much. I don't know if that's important, but So my American relatives come over to stay for a few weeks, and one morning we're having breakfast and discussing why I use two computers. And I tell them that one is a laptop for schoolwork and Photoshop, and my PC is for gaming / video editing / anything intensive. I paid no mind to this conversation, and after breakfast, because I hate socializing and talking to people, boot up my PC and hop onto Destiny 2. Bit of a douche move when relatives are over and stuff, to be honest. This is where my older cousin's brother, entitled kid 11, is watching me creepily over my shoulder and is mesmerized by my fancy keyboard and mouse lighting, and says to me,
"Whoa, dude, how much did that keyboard cost?"
And I answer, 150 pounds? To which he cringes and says back,
"Well, if the keyboard and mouse cost so much, the computer must be super cheap."
No, not really. The PC itself was around 1,200 pounds.
So you lied when you said it costed 1,600 pounds?
Well, no, because I included the peripherals. At this point, he looks kinda confused and walks off, and I continue playing. A nightfall or two later, around half an hour, entitled kid comes back with entitled mother. My entitled aunt is his entitled mother, and says to me,
"OP, did you really lie to entitled kid about your PC's price?"
Not really, I just added the price of the keyboard, mouse, and monitor.
"So, if it's not as expensive as you said it was, could we get one? Where did you get it from?"
Sure, if you're willing to build it, there are a load of online tutorials and stuff on how to do it.
Build?
She was super angry because I told her that entitled kid would actually need to work to get a decent PC.
Why would my entitled kid who was 11 build a computer? Could we just have yours, please?
I started laughing because it was a bit ridiculous that she wanted this PC that I'd saved up for years for and built myself.
I'm not kidding. You already have a laptop, so why do you need this?
For video editing, gaming, etc.
You even bloated the price.
That has nothing to do with the situation.
And you don't need those mind-melting video games, you selfish boy.
Good point. Still doesn't warrant her taking my PC.
And my son does so much more work than you. He deserves it.
At this point, having been on this subreddit a bit, I detect she's transforming into a stage 2 Karen, and prepare for her to try and yank out a cable or something, and I shut down my PC and hide the cables behind my desk, and call for my dad. Bit of an abrupt ending, but entitled mother and entitled kid just glanced at me and for the rest of the week gave me death stares every so often. This guy's story is proof that listening to these stories can help you prepare for your inevitable Karen confrontations. That was rSlash_Entitledparents, and if you like this video, hit that subscribe button, because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.